Dawn. Hello, hello, hello.
Are you Russian?
Yes. Yes. Da.
Did you get that? I'm so confused.
Also, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. You only understand train station? It's all Greek to me.
Understanding Train Station. Living Between Cultures with Josh and Feli.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back to a new episode of Understanding Train Station.
Living Between Cultures with Josh and Feli.
Good job. I'm Feli.
And I'm Josh.
I am a German living in the US. I'm originally from Munich and have been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio since 2016. And that was exactly my script from what I say in my videos.
Well, it makes sense. You say it a lot, so the formulation just stays the same every time.
Like halfway through, I was like, okay, there's no going back now.
You don't even have to think about it. It just kind of flows.
Yeah.
I'm Josh. Like I said, I'm an American. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio.
So from here?
Yeah, from here where we're recording right now. And I will actually be moving to Munich here in January. So that's kind of...
We're kind of switching places. It's
yeah,
kind of funny.
I think I'm really excited about it because it'll work well for our concept. A German living in the US and an American living in Germany.
Yes, absolutely.
And also I speak German fluently, so that kind of also plays into why I can give kind of my perspective on things.
Yeah, on the language and on the culture
Yep.
and the country, because you've also been there kind of a lot, 11 times?
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't even know if I've been to the US 11 times,
the thing
with
is
going
too,
back and forth.
Yeah, they were really short trips
Right.
sometimes. So
yeah, of course, I've been in the US longer than you've been in Germany,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure how many trips I've made.
I've made at least,
kinda crazy.
I think 11 transatlantic
Yeah.
trips.
Wow. Okay, so today is kind of a special episode because we've already recorded this episode and then some of the audio was trash, or how would you say? We couldn't use it.
Yeah, we were trying to experiment without wearing our headphones this time, so we can't actually hear the audio that's being recorded.
And then, of course, that time, because before that, everything always went well.
Yeah.
This one time that we didn't wear the headphones, the audio got messed up.
Yeah, it was all scratchy
Only on
and-
some parts, though.
So we're trying to salvage some of the footage / recording from our last time with this episode, but now we're also going to continue with the things that we didn't get to.
Yeah, and this the stuff that we didn't get to record last time and the stuff that got ruined. So what it was is that we tried to make this very language-focused episode about idioms and sayings and those kind of things. And that was the worst episode to for the audio to get ruined, because otherwise we would just re-record everything now.
Yeah.
But the thing was that we both prepared different idioms in our native language for the other person to see if they know what it means, to guess the meaning, and to kind of explain the background to that idiom. And so, of course, we can't really, redo that whole thing unless we came up with a bunch of new idioms.
Yeah, there's no surprise factor anymore.
Yeah. And so that's why we're just going to show you all the idioms that didn't get lost in the previous recording. And then afterwards, we're going to do the ones that we didn't get to last time.
Yeah, we'll jump back in and kind of redo the ones that we didn't get recorded, and then also continue on with some others that we had prepared.
Yeah, so here is the stuff from the last recording.
Enjoy.
Well, today is going to be another episode about language. We did one of those a few weeks ago about just our language learning story, and we also talked just a little bit about it in the second episode, but today we thought we would talk a little bit about colloquialisms, idioms, phrases that we might have struggled with. We don't even have a real topic for this episode.
So what we thought was we would each write down a few things that we think are funny, or kind of sayings, colloquialisms in our native language that we think are funny, and then kind of compare and see if we know them in the other language, and kind of just explore and give you guys kind of a, how would you say, an Einblick, a view into what...
An insight?
Yeah, an insight. There we go. Kind of an insight. Well, you wouldn't say insight.
No? What would you say?
I don't know.
Glimpse?
A glimpse.
Hold on, let me...
A sneak peek.
Let me take care
Yeah.
of the cat. Why? Oh, she doesn't even want to go in. Baby, nicht weglaufen. Nein, falsches Zimmer. Nein. Okay, I took care of the cat. She's locked into my bedroom now. So you were saying giving the listeners
yeah, kind of a
glimpse.
little bit of a glimpse, a sneak peek. Not really sneak peek. I don't even know what the right saying is. But
Into what?
Into kind of the higher levels of language. Because I think at first, when you first start learning a language, obviously you start with basic vocabulary and basic grammar.
Yeah.
It's not until the higher levels that you have to start dealing with some of the oddities of of language, because language is just a weird thing.
Yeah, more complicated layers, I guess, or complex layers. And so both of us took notes separately. So I don't know what you wrote down and you don't know what I wrote down. And honestly, like I wrote this down a week and a half ago, and I don't even remember what I wrote down, and it's just kind of chaotic. So probably this episode is going to be a little more chaotic again. But I'd say let's just jump.
They seem
in
to like the
and,
chaos. So.
Yeah.
We also did a little bit of research behind some of the sayings that we were going to present you guys. So don't hold us 100% to all of the facts, but this is just some of the quick research that we
Exactly. I just
we
did
were
some
able to
quick research and copy and pasted the first thing that I could find.
Exactly. So have some grace. And if you guys actually know, if you're historians and actually know the history and we say something wrong, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, please correct us.
Or shoot us an email. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Who wants to start, you or I?
Do we kind of want to go back and forth, one English, one German?
I'd say so.
Okay, well then how about I start with our first English one.
Okay, let's see if I know
now I can find it. So the first English example, or the first English saying I have for you is you can't have your cake and eat it too.
I know that one.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we have like a German translation for it. I guess you would probably say something like, du kannst nicht alles haben. But I don't think we have like a good equivalent where like it paints the same picture.
Yeah.
But it basically means, you can't have it all. You can't have the one thing and have the other thing too. Like, kind of like there's two sides of the medal. Is that a German saying?
That's a German saying, but
Zwei Seiten der Medaille.
you could say what would you say? There's a saying that's equivalent to that in English that I can't think of right now.
Well, I'm sure the listeners or viewers can think of it and leave it in the comments below. But yeah, so I knew that one. I always wondered, though, where this really comes from, because to me, it doesn't make 100% sense.
Yeah. So I think, so from some of the research I did, it came from like the 1500s, so pretty far back. And it just was something that someone wrote at some point. And it looks like Thomas, Duke of Norfolk, wrote in a letter to Thomas Cromwell, a man cannot have his cake and eat his cake. So that was kind of like the original saying, which makes a little more sense.
It basically just means like when you eat it, it's gone and you can't keep it, right?
Pretty much. I think it makes more sense if you say you can't eat your cake and have it too. And that's actually kind of, I believe, the origin of that saying. And do you know who the Unabomber is?
No.
So it was kind of a bombing, I think, in the 90s. I think it was the 90s. And it was this one man, Ted Kaczynski, I believe was his name. And he would mail bombs to various institutions that would then blow up when you opened the package.
No, I've definitely heard of that, yeah.
And I believe it was to universities, airlines. Yeah, that's where UNA comes from. So university and airline. UN for university, A for airline. And the way that they caught him, because he was kind of a serial bomber. So the way that they caught him was by analyzing his manifesto. And in his manifesto, he used that saying, but he used it in the original or the flipped version. So you can't eat your cake and have it too, which is not what most people would say.
Right.
So that was kind of what they called his idiolect. And that was one of the oddities of his individual way of speaking that led them to him, because his family then read that letter and said, that sounds like Ted.
Yeah.
There's actually a Netflix documentary, or kind of, not a documentary, but like a dramatization of that story that's really interesting and worth watching for you viewers and listeners. Check it out. I don't know the name of it, but just look up Unabomber Netflix.
Okay. Interesting. Should I continue? So, I think the first one that I wrote down, too, because I'm pretty sure you used this one as an example when we talked about like the idea for this episode.
Yeah.
And it's die Kirche im Dorf lassen.
Okay. So I've heard it and I've actually used it, but I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it in English. But like, I'd say let bygones be bygones, or all things set aside. Like, we've had some sort of disagreement, or there's been some sort of argument maybe, or like I said, disagreement, and moving on from that, we'll just leave that where it is and moving forward.
Not exactly, actually. Maybe some people use it in that context too, but let me just translate it literally first for all the non-German speakers. So die Kirche im Dorf lassen means leaving the church in the village or in town, I guess. And like usually you would use it in a sentence more like lass doch mal die Kirche im Dorf oder jetzt lass aber die Kirche im Dorf. So can you just leave the church in the village? And it pretty much just means can you stop exaggerating?
Okay.
So like don't blow it up too much.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of keep everything in its place, like.
I guess. And so like I looked up where it comes from and the smart thing that I did, I copy and pasted all the explanations in German. So now I have to translate it from my document. But basically it comes from like back in the day, I did not wrote down like what time it was exactly, but it was when Catholic churches in Germany had these processions, I guess is what it's called, kind of like little parades where they would have like the mass outside of the church and kind of like walk through the village. And sometimes when the village was too small, they would go outside of the village and like pretty much bring the church outside of the village, because like in German, church also refers to the what's it called? The Gemeinde? I forget the word.
Oh, what's...
parish, I guess?
Yeah, parishioners and parish in general, yeah.
So like the community of the church, we also sometimes refer to that as die Kirche.
Yeah.
And so like they would bring the church outside of the village, and some people would say that's like exaggerating it. You can just walk throughout your little village. It doesn't have to be bigger than you want it to be, kind of.
Interesting.
That was one of the explanations that I could find.
Interesting. Yeah, because like I said, I feel like I've heard it used in the context that I was explaining, but...
I'm sure like it can be used in an argument too, and maybe you just like misinterpreted it.
Yeah, that's
because,
possible
like,
for sure.
Probably in an argument, if the other person like exaggerates and the one person wants to say, it's like, stop it, don't exaggerate, it's like, I've had enough or something like that, you could like misinterpret the meaning,
that would make sense. That's probably what happened. Yeah. So that's, again, what learned.
Okay, next one for me.
So, to beat a dead horse.
Ooh, okay, I've heard that one before. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe it means something like, how do you explain that?
Maybe it helps if I say, don't beat a dead horse.
Yeah, some things already, like we've been through with that, like we've done that so many times that we need to, I guess, like stop doing it, or does it also have to do with like something money related? I'm not.
I don't think it has any. I don't think it has anything to do with anything money related.
Okay, so I'd say like we've.
You were on the right path with the first explanation.
We've done it enough.
So kind of the case is closed. Yeah. Let's not reopen or rehash an issue. So it comes from jockeying, where you use a little whip while riding a horse to keep the horse moving.
Does it literally come from jockeys beating a dead horse?
Well, and then there was some in some news I actually was seeing. I think it came from some political talk back in the 19th century, where someone wrote, "We don't need to keep rehashing this issue. It doesn't help to beat a dead horse."
Okay.
So essentially, if the horse is dead and you're trying to race on it, hitting it harder isn't going to help.
Yeah.
So the horse is dead.
Yeah.
The case is closed. There's nothing else to talk about. Let's not beat a dead horse.
I guess like in my mind, I really had trouble explaining that, but I think like I knew exactly what it meant. Yeah. And like in my mind, something like a meeting or something in a company comes to mind, where like you're trying to like look for a solution, and there's already been several suggestions, and like some of the suggestions have already been, I guess, closed, or like you already decided that that's not the way to go, and like people keep bringing it up. That's like, I don't know why. Maybe I saw that in a show or something.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't know if I would necessarily use it in exactly that context, but it's very similar to what you were explaining.
Yeah.
I think it's more if something's for certain and completely closed. So that's why I say like with an idea in a meeting, maybe like an idea could be revived, but in general, I think you're getting at the gist of it. There's something that's already been decided, and we don't need to relitigate the case.
Right.
Let's not beat a dead horse. Let's just move on. So, a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush.
Ooh, I feel like we have a very similar saying in German, but I'm not sure if it means the same, and I'm actually right now not even sure what the German saying means again. The German saying is something like, lieber ein Spatz in der Hand als eine Taube auf dem Dach, or something like that.
I would guess it means the same thing.
But I guess, okay, this is embarrassing, because like if I don't even get the German meaning right, then like you can just tell that I'm not great with idioms, but I think it means something like it's better to have something that you're familiar with or that you trust than something smaller, like something, I guess, something small that you trust or know what you're getting into, than something bigger that, I guess, you're not familiar with. This was the worst explanation anyone could have ever given.
These type of things are so hard to explain. I'm sitting here trying to come up with the best way that I'm going to explain it to you.
Was that right in any way or not at all?
I won't say not at all, but the way that I would explain it is it's better to have something in your possession than than the possibility of receiving something.
Okay.
So if you already have a bird in the hand, that's something that you already possess. And if there are two in the bush, that's great that they're close, but you don't actually have them yet.
Right.
So it's better to kind of be happy with the one thing that you already have, rather than envy after the two that you don't have.
Okay.
So it kind of works against ambition, if you will, saying like don't go try out for something.
Yeah, don't take any risks, kind of like stick with what you already have. Let me look up the German one.
Yeah, but kind of some of the history, there isn't a huge history behind it, but the first time that it showed up in English was in 1450. And it says the proverbial saying is first found in English in John Capegrave's The Life of St. Catherine of Alexandria in 1450. And this is in Old English, so I don't even know how to pronounce it, but it's more Secker is what's written here, which means certain, which is interesting because in German it's sicher, and it's spelled similarly, Sekyr, in this case is Secker. A bird in your fest, so your Faust or your fist, then to haue 3 in sky above, so in the sky above, then to have 3 in the sky above. So kind of interesting to see the German connection to English there too in the older versions, but yeah, essentially meaning it's better to have something than the prospect of having something else.
Yeah, and I just looked up the German one, and it means exactly the same. So of course, like I just really embarrassed myself because I didn't even know the German meaning. But it's lieber den Spatz in der Hand als die Taube auf dem Dach.
Spatz means?
It's like one of these little birds. I'm not even sure what they are.
No.
Possibly. I'm not even sure what they are in English because I don't see them here a lot. I don't think you. Sparrow.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think you guys have them as much as we do in Germany.
I don't think so. At least in this part of the U.S., we don't.
Yeah, I always use it as a nickname. Like, right now, mostly for my cat, actually.
Yeah.
Like, my cat's name is officially Izzy, but I just literally call her Spatz all the time.
Okay. Oh, I was thinking of Spast. Yeah.
No, no.
That's what I was like.
That is very different.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, Spatz or Spatzi is like...
It's I guess, kind of like the variant more.
Because isn't there a song... Spatzi.
No, that's Schatzi.
Oh, Schatzi.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. See, I'm mixing it all up in my head now.
That's okay.
We warned you guys it was going to be a chaotic episode.
Okay, I'm trying to give you a challenging one, but I'm pretty sure you probably know this one too. Da ist Hopfen und Malz verloren.
I've never heard that one.
Okay, yes.
So that, what's Malz in English? Malt? Mm-hmm. So that, how would you even say?
So da ist Hopfen und Malz verloren kind of means... hop and malt are lost.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah, so that's the literal translation.
In this case, hop and malt are lost.
Can you give me a context in which one would say it, but without telling me exactly what it means?
Ooh, that's tricky because I think the context like pretty much tells.
Das Hop.
You could say it about a person, and you could say, ach, bei dem ist doch Hopfen und Malz verloren.
Ah, he's useless. Like... there's no hope for him.
Yes, like he's a hopeless case.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's a hopeless case. Interesting. Mm-hmm. That's super random. What's the history behind that?
So of course, like it has to do with brewing beer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. It says that whenever it didn't work out to brew a beer according to plan, then the ingredients were lost. Pretty much, they were wasted, and the main ingredients were hop and malt.
Okay.
So you just wasted hop and malt. You wasted the ingredients. It didn't lead to anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a complete waste of time and
it's kind of mean, like saying it about a person. You can also say it about like situations, I guess, but I think I've mostly heard it in regards to a person.
Wow.
And I guess that's like pretty mean when you think about it.
It made me think when you first started to say it of one of the first idioms that I learned in German, which was hat nicht alle Tassen im Schrank, which I like to say it in English, like just the English version, but he doesn't have all of his cups in his cabinet or cups in his cupboard.
Yeah,
which I think is pretty funny. But yeah, we would say in English he has a screw loose, or
which we also say. We say hat eine Schraube locker.
What else can we say in English for that?
So basically just means the person's a little crazy or doesn't have his shit together.
Something's not right up there.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't there a
there's
saying of like something on a string or something? Or no, all your ducks in a...
Oh, your ducks in a row?
Isn't that
It doesn't mean the same thing,
no,
though.
Okay.
To have your ducks in a row means to have like everything in order and like organized. Like he has all of his ducks in a row. But what was I going to say? He's not the brightest bulb in the batch is what you can say in English.
We just say er ist nicht der hellste.
You could say he's not the sharpest knife. Or what would you say? There's a saying that's similar to that. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Sharpest knife?
There's something... I could swear there's something about like a sharp knife, but it doesn't matter.
I'm telling you, idioms are so tricky because you're always like, I thought there was something, and you're like, you can only think of one of the words that's part of the idiom, but if you don't use it all the time, it's like kind of hard to sometimes come up with it.
And the men in my family are known for like mixing them too. Yeah. So like you'll start using the beginning half of one and then mix it with another. Do you know, I'm just coming up with some of these on the spot now, so I don't have the history to them, but have you heard of 6 of one, half dozen of the other?
No, never heard of that.
So a dozen is obviously 12.
But what was the first part of the saying again?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Okay.
So just as kind of a weird way of saying it. So essentially...
Like 6 of this and 6 of the other?
So essentially saying it doesn't make a difference, like it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's kind of a weird saying, but it took me a while as a kid to be able to understand that.
Yeah. I actually think it's funny not to only talk about idioms, and I also like wrote down a bunch of those like other kind of idioms where I didn't write down the history to them, but more like seeing if there's an equivalent in English, because some of these idioms just are interesting in their, we're like, how there's a concept for this in the one culture and there isn't a concept for it in the other culture. Because I can't think of like an equivalent for that in German, what you just said. But for some reason, this came to mind, and I'm not sure if there is an equivalent for this one in English. This is a completely different meaning, though, a completely different idiom. And it's alle Wege führen nach Rom.
Yeah, you could say, oh, shoot. Gosh, I wish I would have had a chance to prepare for that one, but I just actually was
But you know it.
Yeah.
Do you know it in English, too? Because when I Googled it, I didn't come up with anything, but...
There's not like one that has to do with Rome, I don't think, because it would be all roads lead to Rome. We have like Rome wasn't built in a day, but that's not the same thing.
That's not the same meaning. So this meaning really means that it doesn't matter which way or which path you take, you're always going to get to your destination.
Yeah. Now I have to see if I can find the English equivalent.
Yeah.
Alle Wege English. Because I know that we have a similar saying.
Okay.
I just can't think of what it is.
The other one we have in German too, Rom wurde nicht an einem Tag gebaut.
Like in English you could, that's what we would say. Yeah, in English you would say there's more than one way to skin a cat.
To skin a cat? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Americans or British people, I guess, back in the day were cruel.
Yeah, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh, okay.
You can also say there isn't just one way of doing it. Like, but yeah. Have you also heard? See, now we're just spitting them off.
No, but I like that because like I have a bunch of stuff written down that doesn't have to do with like backgrounds of sayings. Because honestly, I have to say, a lot of those sayings people don't use in an everyday like language, and so I think this stuff's actually a little bit more interesting.
Exactly. Well, do we want to finish off our official list?
Do you have one more?
I was going to say, I do have one more from the list, but before I forget this one, have you heard Jack of all trades, master of none?
No.
You can say he's a jack of all trades. And oftentimes you just hear he's a jack of all trades.
I think I know what it means just from hearing it. Like someone can do a lot of things, but he's not very good at one particular thing, kind of.
Exactly.
Like, what we say in German?
I feel like I've actually looked up how to say that in German before.
I feel like there's a way of saying it, but again, I can't think of it. But I think it's not exactly a saying. I think it's more like a word. I kind of come up with the word Alleskönner, but that's not really what it is.
Okay.
I don't know. My dad's like that. I'm a little bit like that. I can be good at a lot of things.
Hans Dampf in allen Gassen? I've never...
Nope.
It's funny. But yeah.
Okay, give me your last like official one.
My last official one would be the straw that broke the camel's back. And there is a German equivalent to this.
Okay, I kind of feel like, is it the same saying as this is the last straw? Or...
It probably comes from that.
Because I feel like I know that one, and that kind of means like this is the last thing that's like going wrong, or like.
Yeah, so they're definitely related. I would say that like more if you're telling a story is when you would say it's the straw that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
That was the one thing that ruined everything, or like that.
Yeah, so
the Auslöser, or is it kind of like that?
Yeah, it is.
What's Auslöser?
I don't know. The initiator.
Yeah.
But it's this, you guys have the same saying in German as you do have in Spanish, actually. And I believe you say, I don't remember the actual German words that you use for it, but essentially it's the drop that brought the glass to overflowing, or that's what you would say in Spanish, at least. I think in German it has to do something with a Fass, right?
Yeah, das Fass zum Überlaufen bringen.
Exactly. So it's the last drop. It's the last straw. So essentially it's the last thing that one does that then incites an action.
Okay, got it. So it was a little bit off with that. Okay, I didn't know it was the same as das Fass zum Überlaufen bringen.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so that was all the stuff from the last recording, and now we're back in the present time. So that was past Josh and past Feli from a few days ago. And now we're going to do a few more idioms. Josh, what do you have for me?
That is a good question. Let's start with this one. And I think we're not going to try to do the surprise factor like we had in that last segment, because we've already talked about some of these, so it's not as interesting. But it'll be interesting to see if you still remember from a few days ago what these mean. But let's start with don't quit your day job.
Okay, so I mean, I remember that I already knew that one because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's not really like an idiom. It's just kind of a saying.
Yeah, and it pretty much means that you're like it's I guess like I don't know if it's a nice way to tell someone
kind of a sarcastic or a cheeky.
Yeah, a cheeky way to tell someone that they're not very good at that one thing they're currently doing, and they shouldn't make this their profession.
Yeah, I think the example I had was like, say someone calls you over, or one of your friend needs help with like moving or doing some work around the house, and I don't know, you're doing some electrical work or with a screwdriver or something, and you're really bad at it. Your friend might come up to you and say, Josh, don't quit your day job. Yeah.
Okay, the next one that I gave you, that of course now you already know what it means, was Was ist dir denn für eine Laus über die Leber gelaufen? Or just Was ist dir denn über die Leber gelaufen? Do you remember?
I'm trying to remember exactly what it meant, but for you non-German speakers, it's the translation would be what louse, from lice, ran over your liver.
Yes.
Which is a weird, I wouldn't be able to come up with what that meant if you told me it in English. But I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me correctly, that it means like, what's up with, like, kind of along the lines of someone woke up on the wrong side of the bed, like someone is in a bad mood, and you're saying that to them to be like, somewhat in a playful way, like, what's up with you, dude? Like,
yeah, kind of like I wrote down what's bugging you or something, because that already also has like the animal, the bug.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, it pretty much just means like, what's wrong with you? What happened? And the background story to that idiom was that back in the day, apparently from my Google research, people thought that the center of emotions was the liver. And so just because lice are very small things, they thought that something small was like walking over the liver and therefore ruined their mood.
Interesting. I just was thinking though, like when you said that they thought that the liver was a center of emotion, like maybe that's why you drink, like when you're upset, or if some people drink when they're upset to try to drown and suppress the emotions, flood the emotions.
Yeah, it's super random though. Like, why would you think that your emotions are at the liver?
There were weird thoughts that they had back then. I mean, it makes sense if you have no clue why and don't have the scientific tools to be able to figure things out. But
true. But I would probably rather think like maybe your gut or like your stomach, you know, or maybe your heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not the liver isn't really something that you can actively feel.
And like I said, if you're not thinking of drinking, who really thinks of their liver too often?
Okay.
So another one, and I was actually at the doctor's office when this one came up, and I wrote it down right away because I knew this would be a good example. But the doctor had to print off some documents for me. So when I go to Germany, then I have my medical records and everything. And he was having an issue with the printer, and he asked one of the nurses if the printer was working, and he said, "Is the printer working? Because it's been a little bit on the fritz lately." And do you remember what that means?
Yeah, I remember that I had no clue. Like, I mean, I think from the context I kind of guessed, but I had personally never actively heard that before. And I think I asked you if it's actually spelled like the name Fritz. But yeah, apparently it means that like an electronic device isn't working properly anymore.
Electronic or mechanical.
Or is about to die, I think. Is that what it means, kind of?
Yeah, it's being temperamental. It's just being tricky. It's
temperamental.
Yeah, it's not... It's not cooperating.
Okay.
It's on the fritz. You can also say it's like on its last leg. So it's kind of leading towards being out of commission. Being kaputt.
Being kaputt. Okay, and then the last one, I think, or actually no, this wasn't the last one, but the last one with like a longer background story that I had for you was Das geht doch auf keine Kuhhaut.
And I do not remember what that one means.
Oh, really? Because you didn't know it last time, and then we talked about it quite a lot.
Wait. I remember the history somewhat, but I don't remember exactly why. Like
maybe it comes when you.
So yeah, I remember the history, the Kuhhaut. So essentially, the English translation would be it doesn't even fit on a
cow skin.
Yeah. And I remember the cow skin is representative for parchment, and it has to do with something religious that all of your sins or all of your lies are written down on parchment.
Yeah. So
and whoever this person that you're saying this to, they must lie or do something so much that there are so many sins that are written down that it doesn't fit on one page of parchment.
Yeah, pretty much. So like you would say that whenever, so eine Frechheit.
Oh, okay.
So like, kind of like, is there a saying in English where you say something along the lines of, you couldn't even make this up if you wanted to? Kind of like that, I guess.
Yeah, you can't make this shit up.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of like that. And apparently it comes from like the Middle Ages when parchment wasn't made out of trees yet or out of wood, but it was actually made out of cow skins.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between paper and parchment. But
wait, so parchment, but isn't parchment pergament?
Yeah.
Okay. Because like...
Well, no, now that you're saying that, I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, because
so don't
at least like the
people.
German word pergament,
I think
when you think of it, you also think of something made out of wood and not made out of skin.
Because I know that they like used in ancient Egypt, they used to write on reed parchment, I believe. So let's see, what does the internet say for pergament? Parchment or vellum, which I haven't heard of. So I think you're right. It wasn't always necessarily a animal skin that they wrote on.
I guess like I personally hadn't heard of that, but also like I'm not a big like Middle Ages freak or something like that. But usually like in German, at least when you speak of pergament, you don't think of like an animal skin.
Yeah, let us know in the comments to the YouTube channel or send us an email and we'd be happy to be enlightened as to what exactly parchment is.
Yeah, but so that's a saying that, I mean, people don't say that a whole lot, but I've definitely heard it before. Yeah, it's more like an old-fashioned saying, I guess. Not old-fashioned fashion, but that didn't even make sense. Old-fashioned fashion. Not like, very old, like historical.
Old-fashioned.
Just like it's not very in fashion anymore to say that.
Not very common.
Yeah.
So my list of English ones with histories has kind of run out, but now I'm moving into some of the other things that I just written down from kind of my everyday. Hit the sack.
To go to sleep?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I know that one.
Is there a German version of that? Den Sack schlagen.
I don't think so. I mean, there is like, you can refer to the bed as Kiste, but this is more used in like a sexual way.
Okay.
I would say. I can't think of an equivalent, but if any of our viewers or listeners can, then like let us know in the comments or like shoot us an email or something like that. There's actually one more that I definitely need to get into the history for, and that one we both know what it means, but it's like the name giver of our podcast, and it's Ich verstehe nur Bahnhof.
Or I only understand train station.
Exactly, which we did explain what it means before, but we didn't explain where it comes from, because I think I didn't even know before we started the podcast. Someone said it in the comments.
Yeah, there were a couple people who commented like with the history of it. So.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So apparently there are different versions of the story, but the one that I found the most was the one that it's from back from during the First World War. And I can't explain it. It's literally here in German and I can't. Okay.
It was kind of towards the end of the war. I don't know if the war was actually over yet, but the soldiers were so exhausted and so ready to be home that no matter what they heard, they kind of were thinking that all they wanted to do was go to the train station. So no matter what order was given, they just would say, I only understand train station, because they wanted to hop on the trains and go home.
Yes, and so like what it says in the German versions of the explanation is that they said something like, ich verstehe immer nur Bahnhof. So like whatever you say, I always only understand train station, because that's the only word they wanted to hear, because train station means they get to go home. And so that's kind of where it came from. Like the meaning kind of changed over time, apparently, because nowadays it really just means I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
And back in the day, it kind of meant I don't want to understand anything else, kind of, or like I can't follow you because my thoughts are somewhere else.
Yeah.
So the meaning has kind of changed, but it's a very interesting origin if this is true.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, there are a couple other theories about where it came from, but no matter what, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine being those soldiers. I would only understand train station too.
Yeah. And so like some of the other explanations that I found, they didn't go back more than like the 1920s or something like that. So definitely seems like the first times that it showed up in like anything written was like in the early 20th century.
It surprises me because that's not like that long ago.
Yeah.
And that is so established in the German language now, just within, 100 years?
I'm kind of assuming, I mean, this is really just a guess from my side, that it might be so established because it sounds so funny.
Yeah. It's so random.
Yeah. And it's like a thing that people say to their kids because it just sounds cute.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe why it got established.
But yeah, so the goal of our podcast is to help you guys understand train station. But in reality, to actually understand anything but train station, you know?
Yes.
According to the original definition.
Yep. Okay, do you have another one for me?
A dime a dozen? You probably have heard that before.
Yes.
I just wonder if you know what it means.
I've definitely heard it before, and I feel like I've understood it before too, but I don't know right now.
Yeah, so you know what a dime is?
Yes.
So for you Germans or you non-Americans out there, a dime is a 10-cent coin in U.S. currency. I don't know in other places that use dollars if they also have pennies, dimes, nickels, and so on, but a dime is 10 cents. So a dime a dozen means essentially there's so many of them. It's so accessible. A dime a dozen, you can get a dozen of something for just 10 cents. So it's super cheap. So it's something common. That's a dime a dozen.
Okay. Yeah, see, like I feel like out of context, I would have probably understood because it probably would be clear when like someone uses that in a sentence. But just like that, I didn't remember what it meant.
And I think that's an important point too about a lot of idioms. Like oftentimes you don't have to actually sit down and memorize all of them. You just pick up from the context that they're said in.
Which is the case with language learning in general. Yeah. Like in a lot of cases, you do understand a word out of context, but you don't actively remember it. Another one that we did talk about last time, but then it got lost, was "Jetzt haben wir den Salat," which is one of my favorite sayings in German because it also sounds kind of cute, and it pretty much just means now we have the salad.
Yeah.
And did you know what it meant?
I didn't know exactly what it meant. And I want to ask you, because I recently was playing tennis with a friend, and I think I used it properly, but I'm not 100% sure. So I had just lost the game, and I was trying really hard, and then it just kind of all fell apart. And then after I lost the game, I was like, "Jetzt haben wir den Salat," like at the side change, because I had lost that game, so now we just had to keep moving on. I don't know if it was exactly the right usage of it, but kind of I tried all my best and was putting all of this effort into it, and it resulted in nothing. So jetzt haben wir den Salat.
No, that's definitely a context where you can use it in. I feel like more common is when something really, really goes wrong. Like what was the example that I used last time? I think, like, for example, when you put a lot of effort in, like, trying to figure something out, I think my example was something like you have a bunch of kids and you try to, like, coordinate all of their schedules. And then, like, in the end, one thing gets screwed up. And then, like, all the schedules that you planned out so properly to avoid this mess, it's like suddenly you have this mess.
Yeah.
And then you can say, na toll, jetzt haben wir den Salat. It's like a lot of people use it in contexts where you could have already known that this could happen and you were trying to avoid this. And basically what it means is that now we have the salad means that you can't undo it anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like an expression of resignation of any hope.
Yeah.
Like now I'm accepting the fact that this isn't going to happen or is unavoidable.
Isn't there some kind of saying in English where like something's broken? Or is this a German saying?
I don't know about something broken. Maybe it exists. It's just not coming to mind right now. But I was thinking kind of a house of cards falling down is what we would say. Like, like something that was really fragile and everything was kind of interconnected and just one thing had to change and then the whole house of cards falls down.
Whereas like I feel like a house of cards in a lot of cases you kind of associate that more with something that a person planned with like something evil, I guess, like a Lügenhaus, we say, I guess, in German. Do we say that?
I don't know.
Kartenhaus aus Lügen, like when people like build up their whole structure of lies.
Yeah.
What we also say in German is, das Kind ist in den Brunnen gefallen.
Okay, yeah.
So the
kid
child,
fell in the well.
Yeah. Which also means that it's too late now. It already fell. You can't undo it now. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's one that I really like. Now we have the salad. And I do sometimes use that in English too, because I think it just sounds really funny.
Now I'm trying to see. I don't think I have any other English ones written down.
Okay, I have a bunch more that we talked about last time.
Yeah, just go ahead and shoot them off then.
Okay. Das A und O. You knew this one. So you can say, das ist das A und O, which in English means this is the A and O.
Mm-hmm. And the origin of that, which I knew, it comes from old, or it just comes from Greek in general, where A or alpha is the first letter and omega is the last letter of the alphabet. So it's the important things that you need. You need the alphabet. It's the core. That is the essentials of what you need.
Yeah.
That's the A and the O, the alpha and the omega. And I knew that alpha and omega were the beginning of the and last letter of the Greek alphabet, because in the Bible it says that God is the alpha and the omega.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's where it comes from. I did apparently write down an English equivalent. I'm not sure if this is actually a thing, but I think the internet said the name of the game. Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that before, and that's the name of the game. Yeah.
Does that mean the same thing?
Mm-hmm. I think so, yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the name of the game is to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, essentially, I always want to say in English, it goes around, es geht darum, etwas zu machen.
Okay. So that is the English equivalent then. Another one that we talked about last time was etwas ist 0815.
I don't remember what that one means
And the
either.
thing is, like, it's funny because people, in my perception, people use that all the time.
I've never heard that.
I do, I think. So I'm surprised that I've never used it around you. And you didn't know it, but you don't remember now?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So etwas ist 0815. So in English, it means something is 0815. And you spell it 08/15. That's how you spell it. And it pretty much just means that something is very basic, very expectable. Is that a word? Can you say expectable? It was
expected.
It was expected. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like
predictable.
Predictable. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah. So for example, when someone comes up with like an idea in some kind of like creative context, like if we came up with the idea of talking about beer stereotypes or something like that, the
like,
idea.
That's 0815.
We could do that, but. Like and maybe we will. I'm not saying that we won't, but the idea wouldn't be super, super creative. You know, it wouldn't be like
kind of run of the mill ideas.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like
English,
thinking out of the box. Outside the book. How do
thinking outside the box? Yeah.
Outside the box, yeah. It would be the opposite of that, and that's when we say etwas ist 0815.
Interesting. I'll have to remember that one.
The English translation that you also said and that I wrote down too was to be vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that my dad says all the time. And I was just up at my parents' house this weekend, and I commented on someone being very vanilla. It's not necessarily a positive thing. It's
No, 0815 isn't a positive thing. Like, you really don't say that when something is basic and good. Yeah. You say it when you're trying to criticize that. Yeah.
That's a very vanilla idea.
Yeah.
It lacks pizzazz. Have you heard the word pizzazz before?
No.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Oh, I don't know how to... Pizzazz. It spark. It like has character.
Yeah.
It has pizzazz.
I'm trying to come up with a German word because I know there is one.
It's almost like an onomatopoeia, I feel like.
Hold on. I think there's a German word.
I can look
How do you spell it?
P-I-Z-A-Z-Z.
P-I-Z-A-Z.
Elan. Pep. Schwung.
Pep, ja. Pep wollte ich sagen.
I think we've covered all of the ones that we talked about last time we tried to record.
Yeah,
and
so now there's the new stuff.
Yes, so here's the new stuff. And like I said, I'm out of the English ones.
Oh, really? I have a bunch of German ones left. Do you want me to go with those first, or do you want to give me some German ones that were surprising to you in the beginning? Because you do have some German ones, right?
Yeah, I still have a couple German ones.
Yeah. Okay, let me go through my list because it's like a bunch of short stuff.
Yep.
So, okay, this is one that Germans love to literally translate into English because it sounds really funny, and it's das ist nicht gerade das Gelbe vom Ei.
Yeah, it's not the yellow of the egg, meaning
Yeah.
that's not the best.
Yeah. And Germans love to say that in English because it sounds
That's
really
not
cute.
the
and
yellow
funny.
of the egg.
It's not. Or some Germans even say, this is not the yellow from the egg.
Yeah.
Then I guess I wrote down a bunch of sayings that I wasn't sure if there's an equivalent in English.
Okay.
So this one is Alter vor Schönheit, which means age before beauty. Do people say that in English?
Yeah, you can say age before beauty.
Okay. Do
Yep.
people say that a lot too?
Yeah, like if I jokingly, if I'm opening the
Yeah.
door for someone, I'll say age
Okay.
before beauty.
Cool. Sometimes I'm like not sure because I've probably heard that before here,
Yeah.
but sometimes I'm not 100% sure if I just
Yeah.
like imagine that or if it was in Germany and I just don't properly remember. Then I guess the next one is Lügen haben kurze Beine.
Legs have short legs.
No, lies have
Oh,
short
sorry,
legs.
that's what I meant. There's something, I don't know if we say it exactly like that in English, but we have a very similar saying. What is it?
Look it up.
Look it up because I'm going to write something else down too.
A lie has no feet.
I don't know. Maybe that's it. Maybe we do say a lie has short legs.
But
I just don't remember.
It does say that too. Lies have short legs.
Yeah, and it's possible that that's the saying. I just don't. I don't know if this was taken over from the last time we recorded, but I was saying that the men in my family are very known for always mixing up sayings together,
Yeah.
so they don't make sense. So you can't always trust me with these type of things.
Yeah, no, me either. But yeah, okay. So, I mean, obviously what it means is that lies don't get very far.
Yeah. Any other quick, short German ones?
Pech im Spiel, Glück in der Liebe.
So, what's Pech?
Your
Bad luck in
bad
the
luck.
game, and then good luck
in love.
Yeah, luck and love. So
Or like, I
essentially-
think I looked up in a translation and it did come up with one and it said, unlucky at cards, lucky at love.
I've never heard that before, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, if you're English speaking, let us know if you've
Yeah.
ever heard it before.
And like a lot of these sayings, I feel like get lost through generational gaps too.
Mm-hmm.
Like my parents will pull out sayings that I've never heard before still.
Okay, well, this is actually one that people use all the time still to this day. Like, every time you lose at something, like, your excuse is kind of like, oh, well, you know, like, I'm bad at games, but at least I'm lucky at love.
Yeah.
Or you can also switch it around. Like, if you're good at games, they're going to say, well, you know what they say, good at games, bad luck at love.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one was, man soll den Tag nicht vor dem Abend loben.
I think you go ahead and translate that because I don't want to have to think that hard. But we have a very similar English saying, I think, which is don't count your chickens before they hatch.
Yeah, that's also what I wrote down. Literally, the German one means you shouldn't or you're not supposed to praise the day before the evening.
Yeah.
So don't
Don't get ahead of yourself.
or like don't get too happy about something before it's actually over. Like kind of when a game isn't over yet and you're already happy that you're winning, like don't do that because it's not over yet.
Yeah,
kind
there's
of.
still a chance that
Yeah.
you could lose.
Okay, the next one is es ist 5:12. Or I think sometimes people also say es ist kurz vor 12.
So it's either 5 before 12 or a little bit before 12. I have no
Yeah.
clue what that's supposed to mean, though.
I think the proper saying is es ist 5:12. And it's funny too because I wrote this down like a week and a half ago. And then after that, like a few days ago, the German band Annemai Kantereit actually released an album based on this saying. Like
Really?
the name of the album is 12, so 12, and it's based on this saying.
So what does it mean?
It means that, now how do I translate that? There's no time to waste, kind of. Like it means 12 is like the finish line. And we're
okay.
so close, but not in a good way, like in a bad way. Like
Like it's coming down to the
like
wire.
you need to get on the right path before it's too late, kind of.
Okay. Yep.
Like teachers would say that a lot to students when they're like not getting good grades and it's about to be what's the word? Unrevertible? Is that a word?
I think what you're trying to say, you're about to reach the point of no return.
No return, yeah. When you're about to reach the point of no return, teachers will tell you, es ist 5:12.
I see.
Like you
Okay.
have 5 more minutes to change something, but then afterwards it's going to be too late.
Yeah. Der Zug ist schon abgefahren.
Exactly, another
The
train
train
saying.
the train has left the station.
Do you say that in English too?
I think so. I don't know. Though.
Okay, I think so too, but
sounds
sometimes
natural
I'm
to
not
me.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it means, and I think every German knows this one.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one before.
And then, like, the band, Annemai Kantereit, they apparently named their album 12 because they're saying it's not 5:12, it's already 12. Like,
Okay.
it's already
We're
almost
too
too late. We need to get started now.
See, now you have so many of these German ones. I just had to pull up another page where there's some English ones.
Okay, give me some.
He has a bigger fish to fry.
No, I've never
Oh, you
heard
don't know that one? Oh, I should have used some of these then.
Yeah.
He has a bigger fish to fry means like he has more important things.
Okay.
Like
So he shouldn't fry the little fish.
He has bigger fish to fry. He has bigger things to take care of than what we're talking about
like more
right
important
now.
things, yeah. Makes sense. Okay, can I do the next one?
Yeah.
Alles für die Katz.
Alles für die Katz. It's
All for the cat.
Yeah, all for the cat.
All for nothing. This was all wasted. This was all
okay.
for nothing.
I think in English we would say it's for the birds.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we like to give our waste to our cats.
What about to give someone the cold shoulder?
I know that from German. We have the same one.
Okay.
Jemandem die kalte Schulter zeigen. So we don't say to give, we say to show.
Yeah.
But I guess...
I think you could even say that in English.
So I guess, kind of like to ignore someone or like to be very distant to someone.
See, this is a great list. What about to get a taste of your own medicine? Have you heard that? Do you have that in
I'm
German?
not sure. I feel like I know it from German. Hold on, let me think. Sometimes my brain is so confused with like languages. I'm not even sure which language I know it from. Can we look up the German translation?
Go for it.
Maybe I do know this one from English because in German, apparently there is something like es jemandem mit gleicher Münze heimzahlen, which I don't really use a lot. But what you do use is jemanden mit seinen eigenen Waffen schlagen.
To hit someone with their own weapon.
Yeah. But it's kind of, the meaning is kind of like the same.
Yeah.
The thought of it is the same, but you would actually use it more in a context where you're trying to harm someone.
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to do with harm in English, but just kind of getting back at someone.
Right.
So he's going to get a taste of his own medicine.
Yeah. No, I guess that is what it is in German too. For some reason, I just kind of, when I hear the English one, it sounds a little more harmless to me.
Well, yeah, if you're not using
German
a weapon,
one.
it's just medicine.
Yeah. But it's probably, like, the gist is probably the same for both of these. Okay, I have two quick ones.
Yeah.
Eine Fahne haben. Do you know what that means?
Doesn't that mean to be drunk?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so to have a flag. But I always think of like, if you were to get pulled over by the police and you roll down your window, like I've heard like you could smell he had a flag.
Yeah, so it doesn't just mean that you're drunk, it means that you smell like you're drunk.
You reek. Yeah.
And then the last one has to do with the color blue, and I think you know both of these.
Yeah.
You already know what I'm trying to say, right?
Are there two with the color blue?
There's two of them, yeah.
So go ahead and say them.
Okay, blau sein.
To be drunk, so to be blue. And I have a story associated with that one. So back in high school, when I was still learning German, my high school German teacher had, she had jeans on and she had a blue shirt. And this was like German 1, I think, or no, it was German 3. So we were a little more advanced.
Yeah.
And my teacher walks in and one of the kids says, Frau König, du bist heute blau. Or du siehst heute blau aus. So you look blue today,
right.
But just because she was wearing all blue.
Yeah.
And she said, first of all, don't say that to me because you just call me du. You need to call me sie. And then secondly, you just told me I look drunk.
That's so funny. And the funny thing is too that in English, like to be blue kind of means to be down, to be, sad, right? Or to feel blue, I guess is what you would say. And it's such a different meaning in German. And then the second one is blau machen. So to make blue.
So not to make someone drunk?
No, you don't know that one?
Blau machen.
Oh, I love that.
I
didn't
don't
know
this one, no.
I totally thought you would know it. Okay, so a context is if I called you on a Monday and you're asking me how my work day is going, and then I tell you, oh, ich habe heute blau gemacht. So I made blue today. Which
you didn't do anything?
Yes, but technically it means, so you can use it in the context of school or when you're an employee. So it means that you call in sick, but you're not actually sick.
Oh, okay, kind of like playing hooky. Kind of like
Is that what you say? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you in American English at least you would say play hooky. We have a couple other sayings, I feel like, but I can't think of them right now, but to play hooky.
Yeah, and so I guess maybe it's more common to say that in German because we can actually do that more easily. Because we talked about it in the episode with Niklas, that you can just call in sick in Germany for 3 days in a row. And I think after the third day is when you need a doctor's notice. Before that, you don't need anything. And there's no such thing as sick days usually. So you can just be sick and you're going to get paid. And there's no certain amount of sick days that you have on your list. So I guess people
It's a common practice
sometimes.
to make blue.
I'm not sure if it's super common, but people have definitely done it. I've definitely done it before. Yeah.
So those were all of the German ones you had prepared?
Yes. Now we're finally done. I know I had a long list.
No, that's good. I just feel bad that I didn't have more of the English ones prepared. But
that's okay.
This is definitely an interesting episode for English speakers then. Yeah. But so now kind of moving on past that, some of the things that we found were interesting when learning a foreign language, or so in my case, some German sayings that I heard. I was like, what does that mean? The first one that I have written down is sich einen Kopf machen, or to make oneself a head.
Yeah.
A head, like two separate words.
Which pretty much, I think, comes from like, don't cause yourself a headache. Because we also say, ich habe einen Kopf, like I have a head, kind of means like I have like it feels like I have a big head today. So it kind of means that I have a headache.
In German, if you say someone has a really big head, would you say that? Do you know what I mean when I say that in English?
Like someone's very full of themselves. Yeah. That's not what you would say in German, no.
Er hat einen großen Kopf.
Basically, the saying, though, doesn't actually have to do with a headache. I just think that's where it comes from. So what does it mean, Josh? And how did you encounter it?
Yeah, essentially, like, someone told me, mach dir keinen Kopf. So don't make yourself a head. But so essentially it means don't worry about it. Like there's nothing to be worried about. Don't stress yourself out.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. No pasa nada. It's all good.
Here's his Spanish skills, little show off.
Everyone knows no pasa nada.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that. Okay, I guess that just doesn't show that you're wrong. I think it just shows that I'm not very educated.
Doesn't matter. But yeah, so essentially don't worry.
Was it a context where you didn't understand the person, or did you kind of understand it out of context?
I think I understood from the context. Because mach dir keine Sorge, or mach dir keine Sorgen, you can also say that. So it sounds very similar.
Right.
So like essentially don't make yourself worried about that. So from the context, I was able to figure out what it meant.
Should I go?
Yeah, do you have an English one?
Yes, I have also kind of like a long list, but not a lot of like stories connected to it. So the first one that I wrote down that we actually talked about in our most recent Patreon live Q&A was I'm down, which is American slang. Yeah. And I didn't really know that from like any shows or movies because apparently people don't really use that.
Is it just American slang?
I think so.
Okay. Let us know if you other native English speakers from other parts of the world, if you say it.
Yeah. And I did know that I'm down could mean that I'm upset, but Americans mostly use it in the context of I'm up for it. I'm in. Like if someone asks you if you want to join their plans or something, you can say, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
And I say that all the time now. And in the beginning, like I think someone actively told me about this. They were like, okay, you need to know when Americans say this, it means this. And so like I learned it really quickly. But people did use it all the time. And
it's very confusing, too, because you can say I'm down or I'm up.
Right.
Like, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
But you can also be down. And they mean the same thing.
Yeah, and it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
That's confusing. The next German one I have written down is Zukunftsmusik.
Okay, wow. That's like a complex one, kind of.
So future music.
I don't personally use that.
Have you? But you would know what it means.
Yeah, I know
right?
what it means. Like
this is all.
This is alles Zukunftsmusik.
Yeah.
It means that I'm not even 100% sure if I can explain it correctly, but I think that it means that this is something that lies in the future, and sometimes it means that it's not certain that this is actually going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. The way that I heard this the first time was one of my German colleagues was talking to our American team. And they were talking about something that we want to do in the future or that would be really cool to do in the future, but we have a lot to do before we get there. Yeah. So right now we're just talking about future music. Like it may or may not happen, but it would be great if it did.
Yeah, that's
what
I
thought that was funny because future music, it doesn't really make sense in English.
Okay, the next one I have is let's bounce.
So let's get out of here. Let's bounce.
Yeah, let's bounce. And I just thought it was so funny because it kind of sounds like you were actually about to bounce out of wherever you are, like jump out of there.
Or like on a little ball.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Which is obviously not what it is. Just means, let's leave. So
another German one I had written down, and I'll need your help at explaining this because I still don't know 100%.
Let's hope that I know it.
Ins Auge fassen.
Okay.
When the first time I heard this, I was like, what? Because it's like that's grab your eye. Like.
Yeah, but that's not what it means,
It's not what it means, but that's the literal translation.
Yeah.
Is it like to keep that in mind?
No. I think there is an English equivalent for that. To put your eye on something, to get your
To keep an eye on?
No. Not to keep your eye on, but more you're starting to put... How would you translate that? You're starting to... look at something to want something, kind of. Like du könntest ein Ziel ins Auge fassen, which means that you put that in your focus now. And this is going to be your goal, and you're going to work towards that.
Okay. I've heard it, and I remember someone explaining it to me the first time, and I didn't understand it. And I was
so like
by
it doesn't come from you're actually touching your eye. It comes from you're putting something in your eye's focus.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I guess the translation would be to eye somebody or something, or to target something, or to contemplate something.
Interesting. I think everyone understands more or less based off of that description what it means.
So that's definitely something.
I don't think there's a good, clear translation of that.
No,
in English,
probably not, but it's definitely something that people use a lot. I wouldn't have even thought of it as an idiom or saying because it's super normal for me. Okay, the next thing that I kind of had to get used to, or like that I didn't really hear before I came to the US, was people using the syllable ish at the end of things to make it kind of sound like
interesting.
It's not really that, but it's kind of that.
I have never thought of that, but yeah.
Okay, I didn't even write down an example, but sometimes people do it with times. Like, what time are we leaving? 3-ish.
Like, or like, what color
3.
is that? It's like
bluish. We both said blue.
That's so we were just talking about blue. That's so interesting. I've never thought of that before.
Yeah, and that
How
was
would
something.
you do it in German? So irgendwie, so ungefähr.
Yeah, you would use another word. Sometimes you can say something like mäßig. So like that would also be a syllable that you could add, or
but
not
you would never
syllable.
say like 14 Uhr mäßig.
No, you wouldn't say it in that context. But I guess
two-ish.
I can't think of a good example.
Yeah, you would formulate it a different way.
Yeah.
Like around or about, kind of like.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'd never thought of that before. Another one I've written down is Vorsicht ist besser als Nachsicht.
Okay.
We have a very similar one to that in English, which is better safe than sorry.
Yeah, that's.
But
very
essentially, what the German version is saying, it's forethought is better than Nachsicht.
I don't know how to translate Nachsicht.
Looking behind. It's better to exercise an abundance of caution than have to deal with the potential consequences.
I guess so, yeah. Nachsicht can also be used in different contexts, so it's kind of hard to like translate the word itself, but you definitely got the meaning right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually, for this whole part, as you could tell probably, I wrote down more like American slang than I wrote down idioms or sayings. And some of these aren't even slang. They're just colloquialisms that I wasn't really familiar with in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the next one is I forget. And this sounds super minor, and it's just
it was the grammatical structure.
It was new to me that when people can't remember something, that Americans in English sometimes, not always, but sometimes instead of saying I forgot what blah blah blah, they say I forget, as if they're forgetting in this very moment. In German, you always say ich hab's vergessen, so you always talk about it in past tense.
Because I had a very similar experience with that. Because I used to always say when I was learning German, ich vergesse. And
which we don't say.
Yeah, and my teacher was like, I know what you're trying to say, but put it in past tense, and then it'll be fine.
Yeah, which honestly, it's more logical in German because you're not forgetting it in this very moment. You've forgotten it at some point in the past, right?
See, I would disagree with that 100% because I'm telling you something right now, and in this moment, I forget.
Like, okay, in German, you would say, es fällt mir gerade nicht ein. Like, I can't think of it in this very moment. But I think to us, like, the process of forgetting it has already happened. Yeah. Because now you can't remember. So you've already forgotten in the past. That's how we think about it.
Yeah, it's just interesting, like, just the two of us with having grown up with different native languages, we think about that situation differently.
It's crazy because languages are not just languages. Like, they come with different cultural concepts or language concepts and just different perceptions of things sometimes.
So the last real saying I have written down is Bavarian. Gmadavis. Or Gmadavisen.
I don't even know that one.
Jetzt hol mal Gmadavis. You don't know that?
I do not know that one.
Really? Okay, Josh knows more Bavarian than Feli.
Well, I don't know about more, but maybe that's just not from like the Munich area. I'm not sure. I've never heard it.
So essentially, but you understand what it means, right? Gemähte Wiese.
Okay.
Essentially, like, you do all of this stuff And if you check off all of the list, then we have gmadewies.
Okay.
Now you're making me question if I'm right or not. But I'm like,
no, I'm sure you are. I'm sure they said it at your work.
Mm-hmm. I always heard gmadewies, not gmadewiesen. But
the thing about dialects in Germany is that sometimes dialects literally vary from village to village. So like within 50 kilometers or like literally just 10 kilometers, people use different words and different pronunciations of more or less the same dialect, but there's like a lot of variations in between villages. So knowing Bavarian dialect doesn't mean that you know all Bavarian dialect.
So, oh gosh.
Are you wrong?
No, I'm right,
Okay.
but it's...
It's hard to explain?
I found it on Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia page is in Bavarian.
Oh, wait, there's a Bavarian Wikipedia page?
So, gmadewiesen hat zwar sprachliche Bedeutungen, zum einen ist erwiesen, der gemalt worden ist, zum anderen bedeutet, dass eigentlich, I don't know, zum anderen bedeutet es, dass eine eigentlich kompliziertere Handlung es an einem speziellen Fall leicht oder in einem speziellen Fall leicht geht oder schon passiert ist. Na, schauen wir mal, ob ich eine hochdeutsche
Dass es
Version
leicht
finde.
geht?
Warte. Please don't put my Bavarian pronunciation in.
Oh, I will. People will love to hear it.
It's horrible.
You're not a native speaker. You're not supposed to.
Gmadewiesen. Eine leicht zu bewältigende Aufgabe. Ein mühelos erreichbares Ziel. Eine ausgemachte, sichere Sache.
Okay. No.
Für die ist der Job gmadewiesen.
Interesting. I've literally never heard that before.
So essentially it's something that's easy to be completed, or something that was easily done.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
there you have a mode.
Lawn, or I guess
No, I was gonna say, what's Wiese?
a meadow.
Yeah, it's a weird saying, but that's interesting
Yeah.
that you haven't heard that before. Most of the northern Germans wouldn't know what that means either.
Yeah, I've also
But it's
never
in a
like
Bavarian. It's like a bayerisches Wörterbuch that I'm reading from.
like
so
a
it's-
Bavarian dictionary.
Yeah.
So like I've definitely never heard it either in Bavarian dialect nor in like standard
Yeah.
German. Because usually you would kind of assume that, especially in the Munich area where people usually mainly speak standard German in Munich itself,
Yeah.
but there is a bunch of Bavarian dialect in Munich and around Munich that people would, take this Bavarian saying and then translate it into
Yeah.
standard German. But
Doesn't happen
I've never
all the
heard
time.
it.
That's interesting.
Funny.
That's just another example of that. My office is pretty far out in the boonies.
Yeah, and maybe this is really just a me thing. Like maybe
It's possible.
everyone from Munich knows this saying, and I'm the only one who's never heard it. Could be possible.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing that I wrote down was, again, it's kind of like, young people slang, and it's hit me up. And it means contact me. Or like you can also say, I'm going to hit you up, which
Yeah.
means I'm going to contact you. Usually like I'll text you or I'll call you. But yeah, that was just nothing that I had ever
That's so
learned in
funny.
the classroom.
So when you heard that for the first time, were you very confused?
I don't remember the exact
Okay,
situation that I heard it for the first time, but I'm pretty sure that I did understand it out of context and
Yeah.
maybe even looked it up on like Urban Dictionary or
Yeah.
something. I think Urban Dictionary has been my best friend in the past 4 years.
It's such a weird saying, though. You're right.
Yeah.
But like that's not to me like super slang. I mean, it's colloquial,
I guess,
but it's not like slang.
It's not
per se.
slang, it's
Yeah.
colloquial. Yeah. And then two things that actually had to do with sleeping that I also was a little bit confused about in the beginning were to crash, which just means to sleep.
Yeah.
And to pass out. Because in the beginning, like, people would say something like, oh, I just passed out after work last night or something like that. And I was like, wait, you were unconscious? What?
Yeah, no, if we use it definitely in I like was knocked out, passed out, like
you
asleep.
fell asleep kind of quickly, I guess.
And a
or
very deep sleep, I would say.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other one?
to crash.
To crash, yeah.
Just to
like,
sleep.
can I crash at your place is very common.
Yeah. I guess kind of like the equivalent of the German word pennen.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Did you know that one when you
I
went
know.
to Germany?
When I went to Germany for like my internship in Erfurt, I didn't know it. No, so like when I heard that for the first time, I was like, pennen. I thought it had to do with penna.
Yeah, and penna means homeless person. It's
Yeah,
not like a proper term for that, but we do use it for
Which
homeless
now
people.
I guess it makes kind of sense. Like pennen, they pen in the street, like they're penna.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird, but no, I didn't know that one when I first got to Germany.
Do you have more? Or like I have one good one that I can tell.
Yeah.
Because I heard that one and I totally got it wrong.
Okay.
And it's the expression, it's not actually a colloquialism. I think it's just an expression that I didn't know, and it's to drop dead. So someone dropped dead. When I first heard that, I thought that someone fell down somewhere, like a bridge, and then was dead.
Yeah, and so like I don't use that one very often, so I'm trying to think of like the context in which someone would say it, because I've heard it before.
I guess you like if you just read the newspaper or something, like it basically just in German you would say jemand ist tot umgefallen.
Yeah.
So it's not that far from the actual English saying, but because drop for me was always like to fall down.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm mixing it up with another saying in English, which is to stop dead in your tracks.
What does that mean?
Like stop like right exactly where you are.
Okay.
To stop dead in your tracks. So your tracks are
you're froze, like you're supposed to freeze, or
you're not necessarily freeze, but like walking, like
okay. Einfach stehen bleiben.
Yeah, so like I'm horrible at explaining these type of things. So like essentially if you were telling a story about what you saw, let's say for whatever reason you're walking through the forest or the woods and you're just walking along and then you see something that was really surprising, you would say, I stopped dead in my tracks.
Okay.
That's what it means. So like, I didn't move another inch.
Ich bin wie angewurzelt stehen geblieben.
Wie angewurzelt stehen geblieben. Okay.
Angewurzelt. Yeah, angewurzelt. So,
angewurzelt.
I don't know how to translate angewurzelt, but it would mean
rooted.
That you rooted. Yeah. You had roots suddenly. Yeah. Like you stopped as if you had roots.
Yeah. You stopped dead in your tracks. That's what we would say.
Oh, cool. Okay. Again, what learned?
There you go.
Cool.
Well, I think that's probably enough.
Yeah, this was kind of long.
This went a little longer than we were expecting. It's kind of tricky to figure out exactly with trying to salvage some of the content from last recording session.
Yeah, I think we do have kind of a lot from last time. So this is going to be another long episode. Surprise!
So enjoy.
We tried to keep it short, but I also have like so much more. So we can definitely make so many more language-related episodes. I also wrote down like English words that are used in German. Yeah. Like the whole like, safe and stuff like that. We should definitely make a whole episode just about that, I think. For
sure. And I would definitely be able to come up with more. I didn't realize how many you had prepared. So
I didn't even, it was just like, all of these were so short that I didn't even notice it was a lot.
Yeah. Well, I found some good lists too, so I can pull some more out for the future if we want to do another episode like this. Yeah. So we won't keep you guys any longer. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this week, and we hope that you learned something new through these sayings. Yes. And hit us up if you have any questions.
Or, additions or comments on what we said in this episode.
You didn't get it. Hit us up. I tried to use it.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
See, I'm so used to those things now. I say it all the time. I say the forget thing all the time too, and the ish thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So hit us up if you have any questions, comments, feedback. We're always happy to hear what you guys are thinking and what you're enjoying.
Yeah, you can leave us a comment on YouTube and also subscribe on YouTube. It's Understanding Train Station. Then you can follow us on Instagram at Understanding Train Station. You can obviously comment and message us there.
You can also follow us or support us on Patreon.
Yes.
On Patreon, we do some exclusive content for you guys, some behind the scenes stuff. And we've also started to do some more German language things on Patreon as well. So hop over there if you want to hear us speak some German. We have a couple different levels that you can support us at, so it's really affordable as well. What else can they do?
There's
Feli?
Also a more a way of supporting us with less commitment. If they just want to buy us a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/UTS podcast. Patreon, by the way, is patreon.com/understanding train station.
And we have an email address as well. If you want to shoot us an email, it's understandingtrainstation@gmail.com.
Yeah, and then of course you can also find us on all the audio streaming platforms like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can subscribe there. You can leave reviews on some of those. So if you can, please do that. Give us a 5-star review and maybe a little comment too. We actually just recently saw all the reviews on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, we didn't see that you guys had been leaving them, and
yeah,
we were
there's
really happy
a lot.
with them. So thanks so much for listening to us and actually doing that. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and for watching. We hope you enjoyed this, even though this was kind of complicated, even for us. Like, I feel like my brain is really exhausted now. Yeah. And we'll talk to you again next week, each Thursday.
Bis zum nächsten Mal.
Macht's gut.
Bye.
Tschüss.